Hello, everybody. One of the things as a marketer that we keep thinking in the B2B marketing arena always is what channels should we consider for cold prospecting, audience engagement, audience generation, demand generation, lead generation, brand awareness, customer acquisition, and so on, right? Um, More often, all the marketers we try and bring as much as new data and audience and target personas into the targeting spectrum and the data set that we manage and try and reach out to net new prospects or the total addressable market that we can, which is a good thing to do. And in this video today, let's talk about what are some of those common channels, irrespective of your objective in terms of whether it's lead generation, demand generation, customer acquisition, awareness, promotion, and so on? What channels can we depend on? And how do we understand these channels? And what kind of results can we expect out of these channels? So what are the top channels that we can engage with our customers, prospects, or potential audience? Obviously, the number one is the company's website. Website today is face of every brand. How relevant the content on our website is for every customer or prospect that could come in kind of determines how sticky our website can be, and then how can our website act as a tool for lead generation. And as you can see here, the second channel is email, followed by phone, in-person engagement, word of mouth marketing, direct mails, social media, and traditional advertising. Now, social media here is slightly different from a perspective of, are we talking about brand engagement, brand posts on our social media handles versus how could we also leverage them for our omni-channel marketing, which I would touch on slightly in a moment. But broadly, company website for sure, top inbound channel, email for outreach programs, calling as well. But if you were to talk between the email and phone, email is a lot more scalable, a lot more achievable by a lot of companies because, or the kind of resources that the calling needs and the amount of time it takes to touch then becomes at times a one-way conversation because timing is a key. Not every time that you want to reach an intended prospect audience that you'll be able to talk to them. You have to get past gatekeepers. You probably have to find them at the right time. So I'm not discouraging your teams from calling, but email takes precedence. If you can warm up, develop conversations and engagement by email, then having your teams call becomes a very effective way of cold prospect engagement and audience generation. Digging a little deeper into the statistics here, as you could see here, website, email, search engine optimization, social networks, blogs, online events, PPC, online display ads, social communities, mobile web, mobile app, affiliate marketing, video advertising, and mobile messaging. Now, we spoke about the importance of website, email, calling teams, and we'll touch on the social from a perspective of omni-channel engagement. How could we leverage some of the social platforms out there? But one of the key aspects for any marketer today is video advertising. Now, how could we push those videos? What channels do we choose? They can all vary, but it's really important that videos are part of your marketing communication time to time. And the video should cover the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel content journey as well. A lot of recipients today and prospects, whether it's B2B or B2C, they're engaged on videos as opposed to any other form of content that you would push actually. There was a time where infographics used to drive a lot of engagement, and today video it needs to be an integral part of your marketing plan, irrespective of the stage of the funnel that you're trying to reach your audience on. The core objective of any marketing, lead generation, demand generation program today has to be to drive value to the prospects. How can we do that? The only way to do that is to engage with the prospects or audience on the devices that they are most active on. It could be their laptops, iPads, mobile phones, or it could even be their smartwatches. Now, how could you push your brand, your content, and the story onto all the devices or the most preferred device? That's something that we will look into in the next couple of slides. If I were to summarize three simple tools or gateway to omni-channel marketing, the number one would be email campaigns. The number two would be LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has LinkedIn ads and LinkedIn emails or the LinkedIn messages. Then comes the Google Display Network. And the recommendation is email first and other channels next. That's because email is the most cost effective channel. And like we saw from the statistics, email still rules in terms of engagement that it drives. And email is scalable as well since it's cost effective. One of the things that we need to keep in mind as marketers is even before we start our email campaigns, we need to be segmenting our audience into lookalike groups or clusters, and then create hyper personalized content journey that we can drive them through and build an email sequencing which is hyper personalized for each of these segments. And during the sequence that you build, ideally about 9 to 12 campaigns over 9 to 12 weeks, if you're starting off with a fresh set of data, which is essentially cold prospect data, by the end of 9 to 12 weeks, you must have a warm prospect list that's gone through nurturing a hyper personalized content journey. Once you drive your audience through the email sequencing, you would obviously have some responses that come in, some leads that come in, and you would have a clear visibility as to the clicks and opens. But there's also going to be a section of contacts that have not engaged with your content, not opened those emails, or not clicked those emails. Now, the only way to engage with them then is to reach them outside of email campaigns. Now, LinkedIn becomes one of the most important channels from that perspective. Since LinkedIn also has a cross-device notification system, which means the LinkedIn messages that we're able to push sends a notification on the user's desktop, laptop, iPad, mobile phone, down to their smartwatches, right? So that becomes a very good way to build brand reinforcement and push your messages across the devices of a LinkedIn user. Now, the way we recommend is the emails that you touch, you could simply upload those email addresses onto LinkedIn, match them, and push a LinkedIn message onto all the matched contacts. So that way you're actually not reaching different group of audience on LinkedIn. Rather, you're reaching the same audience that you already reached on email, but probably not never able to drive engagement by email. Now, this becomes a bypass channel. The reason it's increasingly important to have a bypass channel is because, as we all know, emails are getting stranger day by day. And it's a task to get the emails sent to inboxes. Most of the emails could end up in junk. Most of the emails could end up in promotional folders. And that's where professional email services providers or managed service campaign providers can actually assist you with email sequencing, taking care of the technical aspects of delivering emails in the inbox, the rotational IPs and surveys that it may take to push those emails in the inbox and not really get caught at spam filters, checking the content, making sure the subject line is right, making sure the text to image ratio is right, and so on. Despite the efforts, there's still going to be some section of the contacts that would not receive the emails into their inbox. The cold emails are simply going to make it to the junk folders or promotional folders. And when you look at the same concept on a LinkedIn message, there's no junk or promotional folder in the LinkedIn message box, right? Everything that is being sent to a user has to go sit into the LinkedIn message box, and the notifications of that is across the user's device, starting with the largest screen to the smallest screen, from desktops to laptops, to iPads, mobile phones, and down to the smartwatch. And once the email campaigns and the LinkedIn campaigns are deployed, the email addresses can then be used to match up against Google's display network, and the matched contacts can now be advertised using Google Display Network, different types of banners, different call to action. We could push video ads as well. Now, as we all know, Google's Display Network is one of the largest ad networks out there. So the chances of driving a lot more engagement and being known as a brand, and driving the audience from being cold prospects onto warm prospects completes the journey from email sequencing and then into LinkedIn messages, then the Google's display network, and also gives an opportunity to push video ads as well by the time you get the audience down to the bottom of the funnel. And by the end of this, in about 90 days from when you start with the cold prospect data, at the end of 90 days, from about 12 weeks of email sequencing and then a couple of weeks of LinkedIn messages and parallel Google Display Network, you would have a far better engagement from your audience in a warm prospect data set that you could drive conversations with and fill your pipelines. So to summarize, how does it work and what are the most important aspects? The first and foremost aspect is selecting an active data set. It all starts with a data set that delivers. And once we have the data, how well do we know our audience and how could we segment them into lookalike audience of multiple clusters? And then create a hyper-personalized journey for each of those clusters, have an omni-channel plan, but then start with email first and everything next. Since email is the most cost-effective channel and email drives a lot of engagement, start with email campaigns, have a 9 or 12 weeks plan, sequencing, observe the clicks and opens and responders, and then take the data, match it onto LinkedIn's network, use that as a bypass channel, push LinkedIn messages, and you now have a cross-device notification ability. So you're being heard as a brand, your content is being heard and engaged with. And then parallelly use Google's display network. That becomes a good reinforcement channel. You could now also use video content to push across the GDN's network. So that's how you could use data sets into engaging the prospect audience, starting with email to LinkedIn to Google Display Network. So start with email at some point. Once you drive some engagement, then start off using LinkedIn and Google Display Network in parallel, and you can keep the email sequencing continuing as well while you do that. That now helps you drive the best results that you can from a cold prospect data set. Thank you.